Welcome to the Bosman Viewing, and today we're going to talk about the story of a famous front three. But before we get started, let's watch these guys do what they did best. Pierre van Hooijdonk, Jorge Cadete, and Paolo de Canio. This is the story of the Three Amigos. We begin at Celtic Park in 1995, where Glasgow giants Celtic have just announced the signing of Dutch internationalist Pierre van Hooijdonk. Arriving from Breda for around £1.2 million, Van Hooijdonk was a highly rated striker around Europe at this time, and he was signed in the January transfer window by the much loved and legendary Celtic manager Tommy Burns. Van Hooijdonk would make an immediate impact at his new club, scoring a memorable goal in his debut match against Hearts, and also scoring a crucial header to help his new side win the Scottish Cup that year. Van Hooijdonk's powerful finish would prove to be the only goal in the final, earning Celtic their first major trophy win since 1989. The following season would see Van Hooijdonk's impressive goal-scoring form continue, including his outstanding ability to score from free kicks. Despite the attractive football being played by both Van Hooijdonk and Celtic, the club would finish the season without any silverware. On a personal note, however, Van Hooijdonk was recognised as the league's top goalscorer, where he finished far ahead of any other goal-scoring rival with 26 league goals to his name. Towards the end of the previous campaign, Celtic had been working hard on bringing in additional attacking options to help partner Van Hooijdonk up front, and in the spring of 1996, the club announced the signing of Jorge Cadete. The Portuguese internationalist was signed from Sporting Lisbon for a reported £400,000. The surprisingly low fee was due to the lengthy negotiations and contract disputes that happened between the player and both clubs. This caused a delay in being able to register him to play for Celtic upon his arrival. Cadete would come off the bench to make his eventual debut in April, and he would instantly become a fan's favourite by scoring the fifth goal in the club's 5-0 win over Aberdeen. Although he was not signed in time to make an impact on the league that year, the Celtic fans had seen enough to be given high hopes for what could take place in the next season. With Celtic preparing for the 1996-97 league campaign, the number one priority for the club was to prevent their bitter rivals Rangers from winning what would be their 9th league title in a row. This led to the manager wanting to bring in more attacking talent to the club, at which point in the summer of 1996, Celtic signed Paolo de Canio. The Italian forward had brought in from AC Milan for around £1 million, and the player had gathered a reputation as being hugely gifted, but highly temperamental. His signing was a clear indication that Tommy Burns wanted his Celtic side to go all out and attack whilst playing exciting football, as they aimed to win the league title. With Van Hooijdonk, Cadete and De Canio now all ready to play together, anticipation was high for the season ahead. What could possibly go wrong? Celtic started the 1996-97 campaign strongly, earning 16 points from their first 6 games, along with their new front three scoring an unbelievable 13 goals between them in that time frame. Even though the goals were flying in and Celtic's new attacking options were putting fear into every side they played, the cracks were beginning to show in the relationships that the club's new dream forward line had between themselves and the club. At the time, Celtic Football Club were owned by businessman Fergus McCann, who had gathered a reputation as someone that was obsessive about generating money, but not necessarily about spending it. This would soon prove to be a problem when it came to dealing with the wage demands of Celtic's new talented, but at times difficult, attacking trio. Van Hooijdonk would be the first to complain about his contract situation. Having been the top goalscorer in the country the previous season, he insisted that he should receive a new and improved deal, along with a significant wage increase. Van Hooijdonk would also famously go on the radio to discuss this, stating, £7,000 may be good for a homeless person, but £7,000 a week is not good enough for a top-class forward. This caused a huge fallout between the player and the club, which led to Van Hooijdonk losing his place in the side. As Celtic reached the halfway point in the 1996-97 season, despite losing in the head-to-head matches against rivals Rangers, the club were still in second place in the league, sometimes only separated by goal difference. It was around this time that Jorge Cadete began to become vocal around his unhappiness about his contract terms. He stated that upon moving to Celtic, he'd bought out his own contract from his previous club, and he was under the impression that the money would be paid back to him by Celtic. This claim was contested by club owner Fergus McCann, and the fallout over the money owed would continue on for months ahead. Even with his apparent discontent over his wages, Cadete would continue to score at a high level for Celtic, helping him keep pace in the league with 20 league goals to his name by early March. By this stage, the club had been unable to find a solution to keep Van Hooijdonk at Celtic, and the decision was made to sell their star striker to Premier League side Nottingham Forest. This coincided with a dip in form for the club, dropping points in multiple league games, along with a shock Scottish Cup exit to Falkirk. With Celtic now effectively out of the title race and with no chance to win silverware, the difficult decision was taken to dismiss Tommy Burns as manager, with Billy Stark being given the caretaker role until the end of the season. Throughout this turbulent campaign, Paolo Di Canio had somewhat been kept in check in comparison to his outspoken teammates. His flair and technique had made him a standout player for Celtic, scoring many memorable goals and entertaining the fans with his undoubted skill. However, it had been reported that Di Canio would often storm off of training sessions, citing that some of the players around him were not on his level, even going as far to say they were beneath him. Whilst Tommy Burns was still the manager, he had a good relationship with Di Canio, and he'd been able to keep him happy as he knew he was a vital part of the team. With Tommy Burns now gone, Di Canio voiced his opinion on how disappointed he was to see him get sacked, along with demanding an improved contract due to how well he'd been playing for Celtic. Unsurprisingly, this opinion was not agreed with by Fergus McCann, who would soon lose his patience in dealing with the seemingly constant dissatisfaction from his high-profile players. As the 1996-97 season drew to a close, Celtic had to contend with seeing their rivals securing record-equalling 9 league titles in a row. Despite this obvious letdown, on an individual level, Jorge Cadete would see himself be acknowledged as the league's top goalscorer, finishing with an impressive 25 goals for Celtic. Along with this, Paolo Di Canio would also be awarded an individual prize, being voted as the Players' Player of the Year award thanks to his outstanding performances throughout the campaign. As Celtic began to get ready for the following season, both Jorge Cadete and Paolo Di Canio refused to return to the club, demanding new and improved contracts or to be sold. At this point, Fergus McCann had finally had enough, and while speaking to the media about dealing with his recent 3-star signings, he used a now infamous nickname to call them all the Three Amigos. Going further and describing them as being financial basket cases, it was time for the remaining 2 amigos to move on from the club. Jorge Cadete was the first to be sold in the summer of 1997, moving to La Liga side Celta Vigo. Then shortly after, Paolo Di Canio was sold to Premier League side Sheffield Wednesday, which would see Reggie Blinker move to Celtic as part of that deal. When analysing the stats of the Three Amigos during their time at Celtic, despite the lack of silverware, it is worth pointing out that their goals to games ratio is very impressive, scoring in 63% of the games they played in. Also, in terms of a financial investment, Celtic were able to generate a huge profit when it came to selling each player onto their next club, something that I'm sure Fergus McCann was very happy with. The story of the Three Amigos may not have went as well as expected, but one thing's for sure, you could never say it wasn't exciting to watch. Thanks for watching, and as always, this is the Bosman Viewing. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if there's any other football topics you'd like covered, drop us a comment down below. If you did enjoy the video, if you could leave us a like, that'd be great. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the next one.